And Ram, you want to respond before I go to Mahesh Jethmalani, who has a very different view? Do you want to respond to what you're hearing both from the Conservative MP and Ashish Ray, giving two very different perspectives there from London? An essential feeling, Mr. N. Ram, that the BBC is not above the law, is what Mr. Blackman says. Can we use freedom of press today to say, stay off, you cannot raid offices, or is it because it's part of a pattern that every time this government has been tested by a media organization, that organization finds itself in trouble? I'll give a listing here. Let me put up this graphic. Dainik Bhaskar was raided, Mr. Ram, after they exposed COVID 2.0. We've had websites that have been raided after they have put out stories critical of the government, whether it's The Wire, NewsClick, News Laundry. Do you see a pattern that is emerging increasingly? Is that what worries you? Or do you believe that we in the media also will have to look carefully at our own houses?
We in the media have to speak up more, be more independent and more challenging. I fully agree with Ashish Rai, and not at all with the Honorable Conservative MP. I don't know if he saw the documentary, because it was not casting aspersions. It gave full, it was balanced. It gave a full chance to the government to respond. They declined. It brought in apologists who responded on behalf of the government. It gave them a lot of time, including Swapan Das Gupta, our colleague, who put up a brave defense, but I would consider that mainly apology for the government, because it was based on facts. It was in fact a very good documentary, right. Episode 1 as well as episode 2. And I think I would completely disagree with the Conservative Party representative here,
and you are convinced that there is a direct link between the airing of the documentary and these raids?
Yes. Everybody sees that direct link. Everybody also sees why they tried to block episode 1, because it was about, the reason given. There was nothing against the Supreme Court. In fact, it talked about accountability, and it talked about the SIT not being, reporting to the Supreme Court saying there's not enough evidence to justify prosecution. But the real reason, as everyone knows, the elephant in the room was that it looked at, then Chief Minister Narendra Modi's role or his accountability for the pogrom, 2002 pogrom, where a very large number of Muslims have been massacred. Also, Hindus were killed. All that was brought out. The Godhra, it did full justice to the Godhra atrocity. It didn't say they set fire to themselves. Those who went, the pilgrims and others, the activists. It said Muslim extremists had done this and so on. I think it was a perfectly balanced documentary. It was based on, it was an attempt at truth-telling.
Right.
And to say that it cast aspersions, I think is profoundly unfair. I totally disagree with it, and I think he's doing injustice to the BBC's professionalism.
You're talking about the BBC's professionalism. I want both you and Dr. Baru to listen in to this, the other side. Just hold on and listen into this, because Mahesh Jethmalani is senior Supreme Court lawyer. He's also with the BJP and a nominated MP of the Rajya Sabha, and he's come out strongly against the BBC. And I asked him this question at the start. The search, Mahesh Jethmalani, of the income tax comes at a time within a month of the BBC airing a critical documentary on Prime Minister Modi. It also comes at a time when you, among others, have gone ahead and said that all of this is part of a Chinese propaganda, that BBC today is financed by Chinese state-owned companies, and therefore the BBC's finances need to be looked at. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, I have said that, and I've done this on Twitter, and whatever I've said on Twitter regarding the BBC, there have been a number of tweets. I have backed it up with with evidence that is in the public domain, and the BBC hasn't ever denied that. So, but that doesn't mean that just because I've tweeted these raids have happened.
Now, are you questioning, I want clarity, are you questioning, Mahesh Jethmalani, the finances of the BBC? If the BBC has committed financial irregularities, surely that should have come out in the open by now by a British government inquiry. Are you convinced that the BBC is guilty of financial irregularities involving the Chinese?
Well, I'm certainly saying that because of the extent and quantum of financial interlocking, right, they are highly dependent on the Chinese, and to use the words of a British MP who was highly critical of the BBC and its financial shenanigans with the Chinese, right? Have my bread, you will sing my song.